On this episode of the Red and Gold Report, we're going to be examining the Chiefs' recent win in Philadelphia over the Eagles on Sunday afternoon. We're also going to be looking at some insights that you may have missed, some highlights, lowlights, other news, and we're going to be previewing the Chiefs' upcoming game against the Bills. Let's get started with a few insights that you may have missed in the Chiefs' victory over the Eagles. One insight not to miss was a little trickeration. On the second shovel pass for a touchdown late in the second quarter to Fortson, before the play started, it looked like Kelsey was confused. He came back towards Mahomes with his hands kind of out, but then once the ball was snapped, suddenly he ran his route. Now, Kelsey wasn't actually confused. He was just dusting up his acting skills in order to trick the Eagles defense, and Mahomes was in on it. It was a beautifully acted trick, and Kelsey should be giving acting classes to John Cena by next week. Another insight this week is simple. Ignore the national media's criticism that Kelsey was not involved enough in the game. They don't know what they're talking about. In weeks 2 and 3, defenses decided to scheme out Tyreek Hill. So Kelsey had huge weeks and Hill was statistically quiet. All that happened this week was that the Eagles flipped the script. They tried to scheme out Kelsey, so Hill had a huge week and Kelsey's game looked fairly quiet. But it's not about Kelsey's performance, it's about scheme. Don't listen to him. Another insight not to miss this week is how the Chiefs are using L'Jarius Sneed. I know we all think of him as a great cover corner, and he is, but he's also the Chiefs' best athlete on defense. So don't miss that the Chiefs' struggling defense is beginning to use him on several plays during the game near the line of scrimmage and to blitz. That's why he had a few tackles for loss last week and a sack and a forced fumble this week in the second half. Creative use of your best athlete for a struggling unit. Another insight not to miss is the Chiefs are learning how to use running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Helaire was a first-round running back 2 drafts ago, but being undersized, having limited speed, he's not a traditional lead back. It's not just that he played better this week, it's that the team is learning to accept his limitations and learn how to use them. The biggest example of this is that they've kind of given up on giving him handoffs in short yardage situations. Instead, twice in short yardage, the Chiefs called dragging shovel passes, once to Clyde himself. These of course count as passes, but they're a way to make sure Clyde doesn't have to run right at the defense. On the other short yardage play, the team handed it to Clyde's backup, Williams. Another way the Chiefs are learning to use Clyde is to not force him to carry the entire rushing offense alone. On Sunday, Clyde had 14 carries. However, all the other Chiefs who carried the ball had 15, meaning Clyde only had to take half of the rushing carries. This led to his best game of the season with 102 yards and an average of 7.3. Yes, he did play better, but don't miss that it's more about the Chiefs learning how to use him in unique ways, taking him out of short yardage runs and making sure that others are shouldering the load. Another insight you may have missed is that it would be easy to let the win trick you into thinking that our defense played a lot better. It didn't. Philadelphia had 103 yards rushing, and some of the national media said, hey, the Chiefs played better against the run, but not so fast. It wasn't that the defense played well against the run. It was that the Eagles gave up on it because they got down. At one point in the game, you could hear the Eagles fans chanting, "Run the ball." In the air, Hurts had 387 yards against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have now allowed opposing teams to score 29 or more points in all 4 weeks. After 4 games, the Chiefs' offense has the second most yards in the league, but the defense has allowed the second most yards in the league. After 4 weeks, the offense has scored the 3rd most points in the league, but the Chiefs' defense has allowed the 2nd most points in the league. After 4 weeks, the offense has the 3rd most passing yards, but the defense has allowed the 2nd most rushing yards. Do you remember group projects in high school? Yeah, you would get that kid who did all of the work, and then you'd get the other kids who they wouldn't show up to class. I don't know which kid you were growing up, but the Chiefs defense is the emo kid smoking a cigarette behind the bleachers, while the Chiefs offense is getting all of the work done on the group project. And hey, as we get going here, if you want your Chiefs insights like those brought to you each week right here on YouTube, you got to make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. So what was the storyline of the game? Well, the Chiefs and Eagles were really neck and neck in the first half. Just a minute before halftime, the Chiefs were up by 1 point. They were up by just 5 midway through the fourth quarter. But then, after the back-breaking deep pass on a blitz, Tyreek Hill took it to the house, and the Chiefs began to blow the game up right at the very end to the tune of 42-30. So who was the player of the game? Well, I'm going to give the player of the game to Patrick Mahomes. After a few weeks of what I thought was very unfair media criticism, Mahomes went 24 for 30 with 278 yards, a 84% completion ratio, 5 touchdown passes, and only 1 interception. Mahomes led a Chiefs offense that did not punt the ball a single time in the game. Yeah, they gave the punter the night off. Mahomes won his 40th game in 50 starts, tying Hall of Famer Ken Stabler for the most wins in a career's first 50 games since the 1970 merger. Yeah, I'd say that's a heck of a game for Mahomes. So what were some of the other highlights of the win for the Chiefs this week? Well, one was for sure that the offense was willing to be more patient and take intermediate throws that the defense was giving them and not turning the ball over, of course, way less turnovers. Another highlight was obviously Tyreek Hill. Hill had 186 yards on 11 catches. He had some amazing deep receptions, just plain dominant. Another highlight was the play of slot corner Mike Hughes. Hughes led the team in tackles, defended a pass, and saved a touchdown by smartly pushing a wide receiver out of bounds before the catch in the fourth quarter. Another highlight was the Chiefs committing to running the ball, which saw them go over 200 yards of rushing. And of course, that really opened everything up on offense. Another highlight was the offensive line's pass blocking. Mahomes was pressured on just 12.9% of his dropbacks in the game, which is the best of the season for the Chiefs. While Orlando Brown is just playing okay so far, center Creed Humphrey is playing excellent, and both guards, Tooney and Smith, had probably their best outings of the season. So with those highlights in mind, how about the lowlights for this week for the Chiefs? Well, yeah, all of those have to do with the defense. What is going on? Well, there were more miscommunications this week that didn't help. There was even a second quarter wasted timeout with just not being ready. Starting safety Daniel Sorensen struggled again. He had 2 different touchdowns scored on him that both got called back because of penalties. Hitchens and Neiman continue to struggle at linebacker, having PFF grades of only 43 and 42 out of 100 for the season. But what I'm really worried about is the defensive line. Sure, on paper we had 3 sacks, but 2 of those were Mike Dana just kind of falling into a desperate Jalen Hurts at the very, very end of the game when he was just trying to make something happen, not really because it was good pass rush moves. And the 3rd sack was a corner blitz. The defensive line is really struggling to create any pressure or clog holes in the running game. Hopefully, they can get it going next week. With those lowlights out of the way, some fun news. Andy Reid just became the first coach in history to win 100 games with 2 teams. And he did it defeating the first team he won 100 games with, the Eagles. In other news, word out of practice is that newly signed receiver Josh Gordon is in amazing shape and he looks excellent. He could be a huge boost to an already potent passing attack for the Chiefs. So with this week done, let's look ahead to next week when the Chiefs are going to play the Bills on Sunday Night Football. The Bills are rolling. They have the best defense in the league by a bit right now, and an offense led by the huge, athletic Josh Allen. Look, this could be the kind of game that defines the season for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 2-2. They're playing a really good team on prime time. They're either going to come out of this game with a losing record, or they're going to come out of this game with a winning record and having the whole league just watch them defeat a great team on prime time. It could change the narrative of the whole season. I've got the Chiefs by 3. It's going to be an awesome game. Don't miss it on Sunday night. Thanks for watching the Red and Gold Report. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit that button below to get weekly Chiefs videos delivered right to you on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and go Chiefs!